Well, this interview is a long time in coming. It's with a great friend and a great supporter of the fixed operations community. You will all recognize Mike Weldon, who is the fixed operations director at the Hansel Automotive Group out in Santa Rosa, California. Mike, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you for having me here this morning. Oh,
Michael, thank you for all that you do. I haven't seen you in a while. I remember, just before the world, changed. I was out to see you and your team, and you've got an amazing group of dealerships there, and the franchises, and a really great team.
we work really hard to get us in the position that we're in today, and we've got a lot of great people, and I think that's what makes up our team.
And you've put that together, Mike. So if you don't mind, in case our audience doesn't know, kind of give us the lay of the land. Tell us, stores, franchises, number of technicians, and so on.
Sure. We've got nine brands. We've got 8 rooftops and a collision center. The brands that we represent are BMW. I'll start in the north. BMW, Volkswagen, Acura, and Subaru, which was one of our smallest brands and has become one of our largest brands. It's just really grown. We've got 2 Ford agencies, and we've got a Toyota agency, and we've got a Honda agency, and along with Lincoln.
Wow. In fact, I now that you mention it, I remember Henry, Hansel, and Justin. I met them originally. I met you folks probably about 11, 12 years ago, through the Ford franchise and with some work with Ford up in I guess, out of the San Francisco region.
That's correct. I remember when Ford does reach out and they bring in some solid performance people, and you're one of them naturally. And we appreciate your contributions to our industry.
Mike, how many technicians do you oversee?
146.
146. Wow. That's a massive number, big, huge payroll. How many service advisors at your
45 service advisors. And then in the fixed side of the business, it's over 300 employees.
Wow. And I know that's a huge part of your business as well. I never asked you. I never had the chance. Mike, how'd you get into the car business? How'd that all happen?
Well, I was a wee lad. My dad was in the automotive business. He owned a specialty shop, and we worked with dealerships because back in the 60s, the dealers didn't install air conditioning. They didn't install radios. They didn't repair radios. We were a warranty radios repair station for Delco, and they would sublet all their work to us, and we would handle that end of the business. And my dad started that business in 1961. It actually started in a Texaco gas station.
Wow.
And based on the prices today, I'll shock everybody. It was 26 cents a gallon. He made 6 cents a gallon profit. You vacuumed the customer's car, you washed their windshield, you cleaned underneath the hood, and you wore a bow tie. The business, however, was the back side of the business or in the garage, and that's how you sustain yourself. Well, we did that until 1967, and then he opened up a shop in our hometown, which was Pleasant Hill, California, and helped put me through college. I worked with him the entire time, and he wasn't an easy boss, I'll tell you.
What'd you study in college?
I went to school to become a forestry major. I like the outdoors. Probably would have married my wife had I stayed in it. But during that period of time, the only jobs that were available out there were fire jumpers. And I'm not jumping out of a perfectly good airplane into the middle of a forest that's on fire. So I changed it back to business. And then I went back to what I knew best, and I got back in the automotive business.
Wow. And when you first started out in automotive, were you a technician, or what was your background there?
I did everything. Um, you know, I started at the toughest part of the business, and that's cleaning things up. And then my dad put me in the shop, and I became working. Began to work on cars, and then I also was his floor salesperson. So when customers came out on the showroom floor, I would stop what I'm doing, and I go out and help the customers and provide them the products and services that they needed to have.
Wow. And how'd you come about to get involved with the Hansel organization, Mike?
I've known Henry Hansel for a number of years. I sat primarily most of my career in the automotive industry and dealerships has been with Ford Motor Company. I started back in 1983 in a dealership in Walnut Creek, and I earned some benefits and went to some award ceremonies, and
Yep.
I started meeting people naturally that attended those, and I got on several committees. I was the national chairman for Ford Motor Company and the Service Managers Advisory Board. And then I met the Hansels. And even though our paths didn't cross until a lot later on, I just felt that they were a very well run organization and they were a family concentric business. And I like those.
And you know what? The impression I've gotten from the time I've spent with you and with the organizations is that they really care. They care about their customers, their guests, and they care about the employees a whole lot.
They do, and you see my backdrop, and it says "Caring drives us," and that's what we're all about.
And by the way, I know you shared with us some time ago on one of the panels what that is. But if our audience hasn't seen it, what is that exactly behind you, Mike? And I know it took a while for you to help put that together.
It took us almost 2 years to really come up with a theme that we felt that we could support. There was a number of us that sat in session, and we just bounced this thing back and forth to what we want to represent. And it's talking about community, it's talking about customers, and it's talking about our employees. And that's what you have to build off of. And I think that's how a company is going to grow is by having something that you can rely on to direct and drive you the direction that you need to go.
And it's always there. I guess it's your core values and your mission all into one.
It is. And is it easy? No. And do we have to step back and reevaluate every single day?
Wow. Wow. You mentioned to me, I mean, our business is going through a lot of change, Mike, even in the short time that the few years that you and I have known each other. And of course, there's a lot more to come. And one of the things you and I were talking about just before is all the focus now on reconditioning, with what's happened with the market and used and the shortage on new vehicles. Talk to us a little bit about recon and some of the things that you do there at the Hansel Group.
Well, since the pandemic, we haven't been able to get together. We've always had meetings that covered weekly reconditioning stats. Since that period of time, we've actually started grouping twice a week, but we do it by Zoom now. And what we've done, it used to be just fixed ops. It used to be parts and service and the used car manager that would sit in a room and discuss the status of the vehicles that are running through the process. Uh, we're using a software that we met an individual sometime back that works quite well for our group. And now we've done it Zoom, but we've actually grown, and it's kind of a neat thing. David Long and I've been working on bringing this group together, and we collectively now do it twice a week. We're going to have another one today, and we talk about the state of the status, where we're at on vehicle sales, what vehicles are selling. And it's trying to educate our service side and our parts side how important it is to have this unity. Then we talk about the units that are in production, and we talk about we're now looking at, okay, this is the estimate for recon. How much did we set in when we traded the vehicle in? Are we set up right? Can we retail out of this unit? Are we going to sit on it more than the 40 days or 50 days? If so, how do we evaluate that and going forward, not get ourselves in that position? So it's really educational. I'm truly enjoying it.
And you do that how often now?
Twice a week.
And David is a great leader, and I know he's got his finger on the pulse of that pre-owned, that used vehicle market, and that's a passion of his. So and by the way, you can mention Dennis McGinn and Rapid Recon, because you were one of the very first dealers to start using Rapid Recon, I understand.
Yeah, I'm proud to say that we were part of his success, and it's a grand product, and I wouldn't know how to do it without it. It really makes it easy. It's a one-stop shop and allows us to evaluate our production processes.
Mike, what would you say? I mean, with all the 300 plus employees that report to you, at the multiple dealerships at the Hansel Automotive Group, what would you say is the most challenging part of what you do? Most challenging part of your job?
Well, I think you already said it, people.
Oh.
It's trying to understand how they think. We've now introduced into our climate a lot of younger people, different generations that don't always think the same that we did when I started out. And so you have to adjust and pivot and come up with techniques to get them to, one, engage, two, to enjoy their job, and two, to get the desired outcome by their performance.
We just had a panel with a number of fixed ops. Two or three fixed ops directors. One of them from the Fred Beans Automotive Group, and Tom Rustino at the DePaula Auto Group. And the comment was made that with the younger employee now, more time has to be spent explaining why to do a certain thing rather than just do it. Maybe that's, when we were coming up in the business, when the boss said do it, we just did it. Right now, we got to take a little time and step back and explain why, and maybe be a little more tolerant. Do you see that as well? Because again, you've got a lot of younger people there as well.
Well, that's a true statement. And I think that that's a lot of coaching that we do, not only with the staff, but also with our management, because that I told him once, he should know how to do it. Well, you're going to tell them at least 10 times. And if that doesn't work, you're going to tell them again and again and again until they believe that you're sending them on the right path. And that's a big adjustment.
What do you think is the ideal environment of today, right now, for employees in fixed operations to perform at their best? And I know you do a lot of things. Your environment is not the average one by any stretch. You go above and beyond in many ways with a lot of things that you do. What do you think, Mike?
Belonging. I think that's what everybody seeks today. They want to belong to something that makes sense. They also want their personal time, which we're very cognizant of, and we try to make sure that we don't infringe on that. But I think the biggest thing is they want to belong to something. They want to be part of something. They want to be respected, and that's what we do every single day.
And the one word I would point to is inspire. I think Mike Weldon inspires his employees and inspires his team, because it is a team effort in what you do there at the Hansel Group. Mike, looking ahead, with all the change happening in our industry, there's all this talk about what's coming, with EVs and naturally you're in California, probably on the forefront of that, right? You probably see some of that before we do the rest of the country. But what do you see ahead for the rest of 22 and the next couple of years? What kind of preparations should we be doing? Should we be concerned? What do you think?
Well, what I teach too, and what I try to communicate to my staff, because a lot of people just worry about now and not the future. And when I interview people, I ask them what their 1-year plan, their 5-year plan, and their 10-year plan is. And it's the same thing that I try to lay out for our management staff. Where are we going to be in 5 years? Guys, what you see today is not what it's going to look like in 5 years. It's going to be a lot different. The oil change is going to be a tire rotation or a tire exchange. You're not going to be changing oil on cars. How are you going to adjust your market? The technician of today is not going to be the technician of tomorrow. Where do we need to go to educate our staff so that they can take in these high-tech vehicles and repair them? Because consumer expectations is going to be just as high, if not higher. And these newer cars that are coming out are going to be very expensive. And we've got to meet the customer's needs. So 5 years, you're going to see a big change. The automotive industry, I think, has evolved since Henry Ford put out production vehicles. And I've been glad to be part of it. But this is going to be one of the biggest changes.
Last question, Mike. What would you say to our audience? What advice would you have for the fixed ops directors, service parts managers, service advisors, dealers watching today, people within our industry? What advice would you have, for them if you had the opportunity, which you do, to give your share?
Enjoy what you do. Love what you do. Have a passion for what you do. And that's going to get you through, because if you have that vision, you'll get there. And if you treat people right, they'll be there with you.
Great words, Mike. And I know you live that as well, because I've seen that. Thank you for all you do, Mike, for fixed ops, not just for the Hansel Automotive Group, but what you do for the fixed ops community. And you brought a lot of folks together. And when you speak, people listen, Mike. So,
well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
True. Mike Weldon, the fixed ops director at the Hansel Automotive Group. Thank you so much here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.